Jonathan Stong.
My good friend Ed. How are you, buddy?
I'm well. Where are we?
We are in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again.
That's
it feels
right.
like we were just here an hour ago.
It was actually probably a year ago. Well, actually, we were here for PEI Next. But those of you that don't know, if you're first time podcast, we are, what is this, episode 1 of season 4.
Yep, season 4.
I can't believe we've done this for 3 years already.
And we're still on the payroll.
I know, they're still allowing us to do this.
I love this. It's pro bono, actually. Everything about it. We're bartering our time.
So if you don't know us, I'm Ed Kammerer, my good friend.
I'm Jonathan Stong. Good afternoon, friends.
Together we are known as what, Johnny?
The Pod-troleum Guys.
Pod-troleum Guys, coming to you live from Las Vegas, the fueling station. We're excited to be recording another episode. Like I said, I can't believe that this is our 4th season doing this.
I know. And, I really liked how last year we went through the review of our favorite episodes. Hopefully at the end of this year, we'll go do something similar again and have really great topics and good guests and a great abundance of information for the industry.
Hey, who knows? This could end up being our favorite episode of the year.
I hope it does.
So we're at WPMA. This is typically, the first trade show of the year. Mm-hmm. It kind of kicks off the season. It gives us a good idea of what to expect for the year, talking to marketers, what they think the year is going to be, how busy people are going to be. Tell you what, the industry is healthy. It's strong.
Absolutely. And after listening to, the keynote speakers earlier this morning, more so than ever, there's a revitalization for fossil fuels, renewable fuels, and making sure people are doing the right things and taking care of the stations, whether manned or unmanned, I guess, for that matter, right? I
said it in my introduction video when we were talking about the show, with the new administration that's, in the U.S. right now, the petroleum industry is strong.
Absolutely.
It's healthy. People are investing in fossil fuels again. Convenience stores are being built. They're being upgraded. They're being updated. So it's a good time to be in the petroleum industry.
Absolutely. And we're seeing, like you just said, it's a resurgence and a renewed faith within the industry and the longevity of what we've been doing for many years and how to make it better.
Speaking of the petroleum industry, we pretty much focus on, retail fueling. Mm-hmm. Well, it's in our name, OPW Retail Fueling, which is typically you pull up to a convenience store, you fill up your car and you move on. But, there's a whole other segment of vehicles that need to be refueled.
Right.
Every vehicle that runs, whether it's an internal combustion engine or even an electric or CNG or hydrogen, they all need to be refueled. And, we spent a lot of time talking about basically just the consumer, a regular person filling up their car.
Sure.
But the other segment I'm talking about is, these municipalities, these transportation companies, places where, hey, if you're running a town, maybe your police cars don't go down the street to the 7-Eleven to get fuel.
That's right.
That municipality may have their own fueling station put in, underground tank, a dispenser. We call it fleet fueling or commercial fueling. So I thought, no better guy to talk to about commercial and fleet fueling than Paul Nelson.
I thought there was a good lead in here with Paul's name coming up soon, so I'm glad to hear that.
Paul's here at the show at DFS. I've known Paul a long time. Paul and I used to work together when he was on the OPW side before going, kind of things got shifted over to DFS. So Paul, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you're doing, and we'll start talking about fleet fueling.
Great. Thanks, guys. Nice to be invited to the podcast. This is Paul Nelson from Dover Fueling Solutions. I come, as Ed said, from the OPW family from way back. Used to work for the Petroleum division, which was an OPW division since the late 80s, actually.
Okay.
So we were Dover before Dover Fueling Solutions was Dover.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. All of us together. Of course,
and you've been here since the 80s? In this industry?
Almost. 1990. So this is year 35 for me.
Year 35. And Paul, you're one of those guys. I mean, I've not known you for as long as Ed has. I've known you probably 15, 16 years now. And it's been a pleasure. And we've used to travel together. So I was glad to see you here at the show. And I'm excited that you're here on the podcast. So again, welcome.
Happy to be here. We're trying to do some of our own, not podcast yet, but we do an open office hours for one of our products that may be interesting to the viewership or the listenership.
Yep.
And we're looking to expand on that and get more information in front of our end users.
Awesome.
So Paul, why don't you break down, what are some of the primary differences between, what we call retail fueling and, what's fleet or commercial fueling?
So the retail fueling, of course, everybody's familiar with when they go to fill their own vehicles. They go to the C-store or the gas station and they're filling their own personal vehicle with a payment method that's either cash or a personal credit card.
Right.
When you're talking about fleet and commercial fueling, we're really talking about two different market segments. There's there's people that build stations that cater to fleets. They're reselling fuel and they're trying to attract fleet customers to their place of business so they can sell fuel and carry the receivable, or be able to accept a fleet network card that are commonly used at over-the-road truck stops.
Okay.
And are catered to the fleet market, like a Wright Express or a Comdata, for instance, type of card. And then there's the private users, the people that have already bought the fuel in bulk and they put it in tanks on their property, and they want to keep track of that fuel going into their fleet. So it's an access control and accountability for their budget for the fuel they've already bought. They want to know it's going into their commercial vehicles, their city vehicles, their company vehicles. It's not going home in somebody's Volkswagen at 2 a.m. And we build systems that can accommodate both of those.
Do you have any idea, Paul, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but do you have any idea of how many of these commercial or fleet fueling facilities there are in the United States?
There's tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
With a high concentricity, like we said, on the West Coast, right?
Well, the commercial resale, what we call card lock business sites, are heavily skewed to the West Coast because that's where it all started.
Okay.
In the state of Oregon, it's one of two states, New Jersey is the other, that don't allow retail self-serve fueling. There has to be a lot attendant there. And in the 80s, there was a push by some fuel jobbers to create a carve-out from that for commercial vehicles. These are professional drivers. The argument was that Joe Q. Public wasn't smart enough to fill their own car. It was a safety issue. It's a fire hazard. You got to have a trained professional on the nozzle.
Okay. Right.
Well, professional commercial drivers fit that bill. And so they were able to get through the Oregon legislature a carve out for commercial fueling that could be unattended. And so this is in the early to mid 80s. And then there was a group of marketers that started to get together and they wanted to share customers across their sites. So if, Jonathan, you have a site and you're issuing cards to the local landscape company, local bakery that has a fleet of vehicles, and they want to use Ed's site in the next county over, they got together and created a system to be able to share customers and switch the gallons between the two companies, provide an escrow service, and that was the birth of the Pacific Pride Network in the mid-'80s.
Okay.
And then the CFN network followed as a follow-on competitor to them a couple years later, 1988. So that's why you see those two networks going head-to-head, building out sites all up and down the I-5 corridor in the late 80s, early 90s when it was really going strong. We were a supplier to both sides, and the Pacific Pride Network in the early 90s was building 100 stations a year.
Are these stations under the same criteria from a reconciliation standpoint and from an inspection standpoint from local jurisdictions?
In terms of safety for underground storage tank sites?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they have to have all the same containment, all the same safety regulations, all the same electrical and fire code has to be adhered to, just like you would at a
Yeah,
retail
let's say,
station.
from the equipment side, obviously we manufacture equipment that goes in a lot of these commercial sites. So I think from the underground aspect, that equipment is pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe at a smaller scale. I think where the differences start to unfold between a commercial and a retail fueling is from the dispenser on up, correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of difference in the retail dispenser world to the commercial fleet dispenser world. You get some overlap now because you have some commercial card lock sites that want to provide their customers the retail experience, and so they're using the retail dispenser with the pay at the pump and the multi-grade selections that is common and comfortable for the customer. But there's a whole group of dispensers, what we call the low hose dispensers, that are geared towards high-speed commercial refueling. They don't have a price display often; they just have a gallon display.
Okay.
But the nice thing about the Dover family is that we've got products on both sides of the fence in terms of the Dover Fueling Solution dispensers and the OPW retail containment and piping systems, another tank trim we can do that work with that whole line of fleet dispensers.
So say I'm a mayor of a town and we have a couple tanks and a couple dispensers, and we allow our city vehicles to fill up at this facility, whether it's gasoline or diesel, for garbage trucks or maintenance trucks, and then police vehicles or other just company vehicles. How do I know that the people that are using my fuel should be using my fuel, and how do I keep track of how much that individual uses to make sure that people aren't abusing and bringing their personal vehicles in and fueling that? So what are the couple ways that the owner of this commercial or this fleet, this unmanned facility, how they keep track of where and who their fuel goes to.
That's what we're all about. That's my specialty in particular, coming from the Petrovend world. We built the control systems that control access to only authorized users and authorized vehicles. You can put all kinds of controls on the type of product, usually tied to the vehicle credential. Unleaded only for a regular passenger car, diesel only for a truck, or maybe diesel plus DEF for some of the new trucks out there. And you can also control the access via requiring a physical media be present, like a mag stripe card or a proximity badge or fob, or you can allow hand-entered numbers. And you can mix and match all within the same system. I like to use the example of a small municipality. The public works director wants total lockdown control. So he's going to have a card in his driver's pocket. You're going to use a PIN number to verify that you are who you say you are when you use that card.
Wow.
You've got to have a fob with the vehicle that travels on the vehicle key ring. The product restriction is there. The quantity is limited to the size of the tank fill. We're, of course, recording the date and time and the quantity you take. That's all part of the transaction record. But the mayor doesn't want any of that. He just wants to punch in 222, choose his pump, and get out of there.
Yeah.
Right on.
So you can. There's a sliding scale of security versus total convenience, and most customers are somewhere in the middle of that scale. And I had a conversation this morning. I was doing a demonstration for one of our Midwest sales guys on our new cloud software, and they say that exact question came up. What are our options in terms of requiring physical cards versus just punching it in with my hand? And everybody has that conversation when they're looking at a new system.
So I know on the retail side, we see a lot of convenience stores. Some of them have underground tanks that have been for a long time and are now starting to need to be upgraded. Do you see the same thing on some of these commercial sites that have been in the ground for a while, or are we seeing an uptick on the the renovation or the upgrading of these facilities as well?
Absolutely. It's one of the nice things about this industry is there's always an ebb and flow. As the price of fuel goes up and down, you get investment and construction, or you get pullback. What I like to say is when the price of fuel goes up, the size of the tank that the customer has when they call us for help gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's coming out of the ground and it's going to an AST or above ground tank system as well. And of course we utilize the whole OPW retail AST tank trim family of products that marry up quite nicely with our control products. And we have tank gauges to go on that as well.
Tank gauging, that's a big part of the business as well, obviously.
There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to keep track of, and a lot of things to make sure you're in compliance, but that's normal business. I mean, that's just we're trying to reduce complexity by managing people's assets and protecting the sustainability of these stations. I think it's great, Paul.
It's the information age.
Yeah.
The more information and data you can provide that's meaningful to the customer's operation, that's how you obtain them and retain them as customers.
Let me ask you this from an aesthetic standpoint. Do you find that most of these, or these facilities, these commercial or fleet fueling facilities, how are they aesthetically? Are they maintained well? Are they clean? Are the dispensers? What's the forecourt look like? Is this a ripe market for like a drip less nozzle or a diesel capture technology? I mean, is this something that maybe would see a benefit?
Absolutely, especially in the private fleet market, like at a construction yard or landscaping company that's got their own tanks on their property. Those are the ones that usually are the messiest.
Okay.
For the commercial card lock marketers that are trying to attract customers to the location or have to adhere to a strict cleanliness standard that's mandated by their network partner. That's very important to the image of the brand.
It should be.
So that's what most of the card lock operators are very cognizant of: keeping the site clean, cleaning up any spills, and making sure that the site is lit and well signed.
Awesome. I like it.
It goes hand in hand with what the retail fueler wants.
Absolutely.
The retail marketer, kind of same thing. Well lit, clean,
safe.
People want to come back.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to have that good commercial, that good customer experience. Whether there's a soda pop inside or not, it's the right thing to do. And like you said, brand recognition. It takes a lot to get a customer back if you lose them, right? So you want to make place safe, inviting, and of course, doing the right thing. And I'm glad to see
We're
you
all
doing
been
that.
in the industry for a while, and I bet both of you guys have driven out of a site that just didn't feel right when you drove in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I probably haven't returned to that site.
That's right.
You know?
It takes a lot to get you back.
Well, this is good information, Paul. I appreciate you sharing this with us, my friend.
Yeah, Paul,
My
thanks
pleasure.
for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of the show. I think it's been a busy show.
It has been.
We had a lot of great
A lot
conversations.
of our fleet customers are here, so we'd like to be here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this would be a perfect show for them.
Yeah,
Well, great
absolutely.
work, Paul. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for stopping by
See
the
you.
fueling station. Jonathan, hey man,
I love it.
episode 1 in the books, season 4.
One and done, baby.
Hey, so check us out anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can always go to opwretailfueling.com. Check us out there. Jonathan, Pod-troleum Guys, we're back in business. At least one more season.
Why don't you and I go do something fun tonight?
Wait, you can do something fun in Vegas?
We're allowed to now.
I had no idea Vegas was a fun place to go.
Well, it's now that we're both here together. I appreciate it, baby.
All right, great to see you, John. Thanks
seeing
again,
you.
Paul.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Paul.